I never thought the people who brought me into this world would be the ones to make me feel invisible. But here I was, standing in the shadow of my own family, year after year, watching them light up the world for my brother while my birthday quietly slipped away like it never mattered. My name is Alina. I'm 31 now, but in my parents' eyes, I still felt like the afterthought they never quite got around to noticing. We grew up in a beautiful house on the edge of the city, the kind with a big garden and rooms that echoed with laughter. But the laughter was never really for me. From the time I was 8 years old, the pattern was clear. My brother, Marcus, was the golden child. Everything he touched turned to celebration. When he turned 10, my parents threw a party with a bouncy castle, a clown, and 50 kids from school. I still remember standing at the edge of the yard, holding a half-deflated balloon, wondering why my own birthday 2 months earlier had been just a small cake after dinner and a quick, "Happy birthday, sweetie." I told myself it was nothing. Kids make up stories in their heads, but the years kept proving me right. When Marcus turned 16, they rented out an entire banquet hall. There were fireworks, a DJ, and a custom cake shaped like his favorite soccer trophy. My 16th, a quiet dinner where my mom said, "We're so tired from planning Marcus's party last month, let's keep yours simple this year." Simple, that word started to feel like a knife. I smiled anyway. I always smiled. I helped decorate for Marcus's parties. I baked cookies for his friends. I even tutored him when he was failing math so my parents wouldn't be disappointed. Because that's what good sisters do, right? They support. They understand. They wait their turn. But my turn never came. By the time I was 25, I had already built a quiet life of my own. I worked as a graphic designer, saved every extra penny, and lived in a small but cozy apartment across town. I told myself I didn't need their validation anymore. Yet every year, when April 12th approached, that little girl inside me still hoped maybe this time they'll remember. Maybe this time they'll choose me. They never did. Last year was the breaking point. I turned 30, a milestone. I casually mentioned it to my mother 2 weeks before. "Oh, Alina, of course we know," she said warmly. "We'll do something small. Marcus has that big promotion party the week after, so we have to save our energy." Small, again. On my actual birthday, I received a text from my dad at 7:42 p.m. "Happy birthday. Sorry we're swamped." No call, no visit. Meanwhile, Marcus's promotion party 2 weeks later had a live band and a photographer. I sat alone in my apartment that night, staring at the single cupcake I bought myself, and something inside me finally cracked. Not in anger, but in clarity. I was done waiting, done hopping, done being the invisible daughter. What I didn't know then was that this year, everything would change, and they would feel, in one single second, the weight of every forgotten birthday. I started planning quietly. No one knew. Not my best friend, not even my cousin who sometimes noticed how unfairly I was treated. I kept smiling at family dinners. I still asked about Marcus's new job and pretended to be excited when my mother bragged about him for 40 minutes straight. But inside, I was building something they could never ignore. The months leading up to my 31st birthday were the hardest. Every time I saw my parents, the ache grew deeper. I watched them pour love, money, and attention into Marcus like he was their only child. He got a new car for his birthday. They paid for his lavish destination trip with friends. They even remodeled his old room into a home office because he visits so often. Apartment? They had never even seen it. One evening at dinner, my mother casually said, "Alina, you should come help plan Marcus's surprise 28th birthday next month. You're so good at these things." I smiled tightly. "Sure, Mom." Later that night, I cried in my car for 20 minutes straight. Not because I was weak, but because I was exhausted from carrying the pain alone. Why was I never enough? What had I done to deserve being erased from their hearts on the one day that was supposed to be mine? I started noticing other things too. The way my father would light up when Marcus entered the room but give me a polite nod. The way relatives always asked, "How, Marcus doing?" but never asked about my career or my dreams. It felt like I was living in a house of mirrors where only one child cast a reflection. The emotional toll was crushing. I threw myself into work, landed 2 big clients, and even got a promotion. But when I shared the news at Sunday brunch, my mother's response was, "That's nice, honey. Did you hear Marcus is getting a bonus?" That was the moment my heart fully shattered, and then quietly began to rebuild itself stronger. I stopped waiting for them to see me. Instead, I decided I would make them see. I spent the next few months working late nights, saving aggressively, and connecting with people I had never dared reach out to before. Old mentors, distant relatives, colleagues who admired my talent. I was building a new circle, one that valued me. But the real plan, that was something no one could have predicted. As my birthday approached, my family did what they always did. They started whispering about Marcus's upcoming plans. My mother called me 3 times to ask if I could bake his favorite dessert for his pre-party gathering. Not once did they mention my birthday. The night before my 31st birthday, I sat on my balcony, looking at the city lights, and whispered to myself, "Tomorrow, they will never forget again." I didn't sleep much. My heart was racing with a mix of fear and quiet power. I had spent years being the understanding one, the forgiving one, the invisible one. This time, I chose to be unforgettable. My birthday arrived on a warm Saturday in April. At exactly 10 a.m., I did something I had never done before. I sent a single group message to my entire extended family: parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and yes, Marcus. The message was simple. Today is my 31st birthday. I'm hosting a celebration at the Grand Pavilion at 6 p.m. I would love for you to come and finally celebrate with me. No gifts needed, just your presence. This one is important to me. I attached a beautiful invitation I had professionally designed. Elegant, sophisticated, impossible to ignore. Then I turned off my phone and spent the day preparing. I had rented the most beautiful venue I could afford, the same level of elegance my brother had enjoyed for years. I hired a string quartet, ordered a stunning 3-tier cake, and decorated the space with photos from my life. My achievements, my travels, my quiet victories that no one had ever applauded. At 5:30 p.m., I stood in a flowing emerald dress, heart-pounding, as guests began to arrive. Friends, colleagues, mentors, people who truly saw me. The room filled with warmth and genuine laughter. Then at 6:15 p.m., my family started trickling in. First my cousin, then an aunt. Finally, my parents and Marcus. My mother looked confused. "Alina, what is all this?" I smiled calmly. "It's my birthday, Mom, the one you've forgotten for 23 years. The room grew quieter as more family arrived. I could see the discomfort on their faces. Marcus shifted awkwardly, avoiding my eyes. I waited until everyone was seated and the music softened. Then I stepped up to the small stage with a microphone in my hand. My voice was steady, though my hands trembled. "I want to thank everyone for coming today. For years, I watched my family pour love into celebrating my brother Marcus. And every single year, my own birthday passed with silence. A text. A quick call. Sometimes nothing at all." I looked directly at my parents. I spent years wondering what was wrong with me, why I was never worth the effort. Tonight, I realized the answer wasn't in me. It was in the choices you made. Mother's eyes filled with tears. My father looked stunned. "I'm not angry anymore," I continued. "I'm just done carrying the pain. Today, I chose to celebrate myself the way I always wished you would, and I invited you here not to shame you, but to give you one chance to see me." Silence was deafening, then something beautiful and painful happened. One by one, some family members stood up and applauded. Real applause. For me, my mother walked up to me with tears streaming down her face. "Alina, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize, but it was Marcus who surprised me most." He stepped forward, voice breaking. "Sis, I knew it wasn't fair. I should have said something. I'm sorry." That moment, I saw genuine regret in their eyes. The kind that hits you in 1 second and changes everything. I didn't yell. I didn't expose ugly secrets. My revenge wasn't destruction, it was forcing them to witness my worth. That night, for the first time in my life, my family sang "Happy Birthday" to me. My father hugged me tightly and whispered, "You've always been enough. I failed to show it." I cried. We all did. In the weeks that followed, things began to change. My mother started calling just to ask about my day. My father visited my apartment for the first time. Marcus took me out for coffee and actually listened. The healing wasn't instant, and some wounds may never fully disappear. But I found my peace. If you're watching this and you feel invisible in your own family, please hear me. Your worth is not defined by how loudly they celebrate you. Sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply choosing to celebrate yourself, loudly, beautifully, and unapologetically. You don't need their permission to shine. I finally learned that on my 31st birthday, the day they could never forget again, Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear they are enough. Until next time, choose yourself.